Let me start simply by referring what Ibn has said. In view of the constraints of commercial banks to take more risk in view of Basel III, I think there's a growing role for DFIs and IFIs to take this risk. And when it comes to regional infrastructure, there's a lot of risk, which have already been mentioned, governance risk and so on. And I think that in Africa there's a huge potential for similar corridors like the Maputo corridor, provided that we have a proper planning, that we have a proper governance structure in place. Then in most, I think Africa, with 54 countries, 18 of them are landlocked, there's a need for regional infrastructure, not only for trade flows, but also as a basic for more regional integration. But having said that, we need also then to have institutions who are dealing with these kind of questions, may it be on the Pan-African level, the African Union, or the regional economic communities. In my view, there is still a lack of capacity within the African Union and the regional economic communities to deal with these kind of questions, to do the proper planning, to create the environment which is necessary for the private sector to invest in these kind of projects. If there is not the environment in place which secures investment by the private sector, then the private sector will not forthcoming, unless there are guarantee schemes which helps to cover a lot of this risk. And against that, we as DFIs, DG and the European Development Finance Institute, we are doing a lot in terms of providing support for regional infrastructure. I will leave it to Andrew to elaborate a little bit more on the main cable, the submarine cable for West Africa, and we have jointly financed, and also we are doing a lot in Eastern Africa. Very recently we have concluded a deal for the railway in Kenya, which has a strong impact then on landlocked countries like Uganda, so to strengthen the corridor between Mombasa port and Kampala. And we are doing also, as European Development Finance, a lot in terms of financing port infrastructure, because we think there is a lot of room for the private sector. And we are also investing a lot in funds who in Africa are providing financing for regional infrastructure, because funds helps very much to diversify risk. And the final remark is, I think that once again, it's crucial for governments in Africa and regional economic communities to create the environment. If the environment is right, then the private sector is coming in, because there's a huge potential for, may it be public-private partnerships, or may it be for build, operate and transfer projects, provided that there is a system in place which allows the private sector also to provide long-term finance for long-term investments.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.